Welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Be sure to find us online at themouseandmen.com, where you can find links to all of our social media profiles. You can find links to our YouTube channel where we broadcast the podcast, and find our wonderful top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. I am co-caster Bradley. Across from me on the screen or in your earbuds is co-caster Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Man, I'm good. I know that I can't believe it's almost been 2 years now since you and I actually were at Epcot and drank around the world. But that was such a banner day, such a cool memory for you and I. And so the fact that we are finding other adult-specific things now to do around Disney is a lot of fun. Because again, one of the reasons we started this podcast almost a year ago now was to talk about the versions of Disney that you can participate in, even if you don't have your own princess that you want to take to the Magic Kingdom, even if you don't have your own Buzz or Woody that you want to take to Tomorrowland. These, going to Disney for your children, which is an amazing thing to do, and that's primarily the way that I've spent it. But as an adult, sometimes I just want to go down and have some fun as an adult, and maybe do some more adult-oriented things like going on a bar crawl, going and staying up until 2 a.m. chatting with your bartender or your waitress and just learning more about Disney. So the idea that we're doing this episode today on bar crawls is exactly what I feel like that we specialize in here at the Mouse and Men.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little bar therapy, especially at Disney World. So today we've kind of put together some different bar crawls you can do inside the parks or outside the parks down at Walt Disney World Resort. We've culled the internet, pulled a lot of things from here, a lot of things from there, and used some of our expertise, having been there a few times, to put down a couple lists of crawls you can do. So we'll turn these into challenges like we have the Around the World Challenge. But for now, we're just kind of, as we're getting ready to, Chris, by the time this is released, we'll be down in Orlando just on a family vacation. But just as we're thinking about going back, traveling again, some things that we'd like to do. So let's jump into some of our, I guess, most wanted bar crawl experiences at Walt Disney World.
Just going to say, I love the idea that these lists aren't just things that you have to do if you have a ticket in hand to go inside the parks. That I would say the majority of these you could do without having to pay a dime to Disney, other than what you are going to purchase on the crawl. There are even a few options of free parking to do it that way if you wanted to stretch it out. But again, you don't even have to go inside the parks to enjoy these kinds of things. And so even if you're just driving by for the day and don't have enough time to go do a park, you can do a bar crawl instead and still have a great Disney experience.
I agree. And just like we had rules with the Around the World Challenge, the only rule is you have to try something from each place to complete the challenge. Again, we haven't developed these challenges quite yet because we haven't experienced these crawls on our own just yet. But you don't have to get something alcoholic. You can get a non-alcoholic drink. You can get, just some pub fare. You can get something to eat. Just try something from everywhere. That's really the only rule. Have fun. Be safe. Keep in mind that it is a long day and Florida is generally hot, especially in the summer when most people go down there. So just keep that in mind. But let's get... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, on that note of safety, again, I would assume that all of us adults listening to this would already know this, but just as a point of safety, just know that most of what we're going to talk about, you can do and not have to get in a personal vehicle and get behind the wheel. And so that's nice that Disney Transportation can get you to most of these bar crawls that we're going to be talking about today. But again, use your best judgment, use safety as, again, one of the keys to Disney is safety. Make sure that you are being safe and enjoyable, because even if you're not behind the wheel, if you get belligerent or you get drunk and you get rowdy, you can get kicked out of not just the parks, but all of Walt Disney World resorts in general. So with an air of safety in mind, and again, you can do this just getting an alcoholic beverage at each place, or you can do this by just saying that, like, I don't drink alcoholic beverages, but I would like to participate along with my friends that are doing this. Get yourself a non-alcoholic beverage, get yourself an appetizer, get yourself a full entree, or just a dessert. You can turn this into a bar crawl that you're just sampling different desserts at all of these places while your friends around you are getting a cocktail or a beer or wine or whatever it may be. So make it as you would like to and enjoy it regardless of if you drink or not.
Yeah. So let's get started with a crawl that a friend of mine mentioned. She was down there just a few weeks before Disney World shut down in 2020, and she did the monorail crawl. So that's the three resorts that are on the monorail loop, which are the Contemporary, the Grand Floridian, and the Polynesian. So starting at the Contemporary, there's the California Grill Lounge, there's the Outer Rim, and the Wave. So you got three spots you can stop at the Contemporary. At the Grand Floridian, you've got Enchanted Rose. At Polynesian, you've got Tambu Lounge, you've got Trader Sam's, and you've got the Pineapple Lanai. The Pineapple Lanai, by the way, is a place where you can get a Dole Whip outside of the parks on Disney. I've been there. I have not tried this. You can get an alcoholic version. This sounds delightful. I believe it's made with rum.
I would assume.
And I love rum. So you've got those spots along the monorail loop. And if you want a bonus round, you can easily hop on a boat from the Magic Kingdom to Fort Wilderness. There's the Territory Lounge and Crockett's Tavern.
Wow.
So you've got 9 places that you can visit on this kind of monorail crawl plus. If you include Fort Wilderness, which we've been to Fort Wilderness. I love the campgrounds. Have not stayed at the lodge, but the Territory Lounge, I went with my wife pre-kids and made it a date night. Got some drinks, got 3 or 4 appetizers. It was delicious. It was great. I want to say there were only 2 other parties in there the whole time we were there. So that makes, and I think I've said before how much I love lounges. Going to a lounge, it's generally not as crowded, limited menu, but it's still fantastic. Get some appetizers. You will be, delightfully surprised, at how good it is. So that's the monorail crawl. This is the first one that I probably want to try next time I get to Walt Disney World.
Yeah. And again, I love the idea that you can get to all of these destinations via the monorail. And if you start at the Contemporary and work your way down to Grand Floridian and then the Polynesian, get back around to the Contemporary, exit there. And I think that's where the Magic Kingdom / Contemporary boats can take you over to Fort Wilderness. I've been to Crockett's Tavern before, and that's a great place. And that's, you mentioned something, there were only a few other people when you were at Territory Lounge. And that's one of the things that I love about some of these bars, some of these lounges, some of these destinations on these crawls, is that you're not going to walk into a place that is just overflowing with people. Some of them you are, especially if you're in the parks. But oftentimes the bar section of the restaurant that you're going into is more laid back and low key, and the bartenders are just there to, you can chat it up with them and enjoy yourself. And so it's a less rushed, less hurried way to experience Disney, much like if you go down there for a golf resort and you're not even going to really go in the parks, but you're going to stay at Shades of Green or something like that and just golf around. It's a much different experience. And again, highlight that those of you that love Disney, hard to talk your loved one into going to Disney because they think it's all princesses and fairy tales kinds of things. That, like, You can go down there for a golf resort. You can go down there and just experience a new bar crawl every day. So it doesn't have to be what people traditionally think as the kind of the cliche Disney experience.
I agree. It's the monorail crawl. It's fun because you get to hop on the monorail. There's you can float on over to Fort Wilderness. You just have to get to the Magic Kingdom area or one of those resorts and get home safely. Which if you're staying on property, it's real easy to do. Chris, let's move over to Disney Springs. So this is one where you can park at Disney Springs for free, and then you're just walking the whole time on this bar crawl.
Yeah, and again, pro tip for those of you who aren't staying on a Disney property, if you can make it to Disney Springs, you can park there for free. Currently in, June of 2021, it is free parking at Disney Springs. And from there, you can basically get a bus to pretty much anywhere in the Walt Disney Resort area. So if you wanted to park at Disney Springs, free parking, and then head to somewhere like the Magic Kingdom, where you can easily get on the monorail and tour that would be free parking for you. And so again, in the monorail crawl that he just described, other than getting on a boat to go to Fort Wilderness, you're staying on the monorail, which is a Disney, like they're driving you. You don't have to drive. Much like this, once you get to Disney Springs and get out of the car, this particular bar crawl here is all in walking distance. So again, no driving required to fit this. But let's go down the list of the different bars and venues at Disney Springs. We've got Jock Lindsay's, which I believe is the hangar bar experience, where it's kind of dressed up like an old 1940s Indiana Jones type airport hangar. That's where that is. Then we've got Enzo's Hideaway Tunnel. Then the Edison, one of my favorite places down in Disney Springs, Raglan Road, that I know that you and I have visited, listened to some great music there. And just enjoy that whole experience being an Irish bar. Also, Wine Bar George, where I know that you and I have not necessarily had an alcoholic beverage, but we have had an alcoholic food item there.
Yeah, an alcoholic ice cream sandwich. They did it for the summer of 2019.
So delicious.
I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Again, it's nice and refreshing to be able to have an ice cream sandwich in the middle of these hot days and have a little boozy punch added to it. Can just take your cares away that much more. Then we have Paradiso 37, the Boathouse, which is a nice fancy place to get a drink, but a place nonetheless. Then the Forbidden Lounge at Morimoto Asia. And then finally, the Dockside Margaritas. So that is 9 different places that just in Disney Springs alone, you can make a whole evening, a whole day really, of like stopping for a place, spending some time, just absorbing the sights and the sounds and the atmosphere that each of these places have. Spark a conversation with the person sitting beside you, or just enjoy your beverage in silence and then move on to the next one. So again, but just like the monorail crawl, Disney Springs crawl, no driving required until you are finished. And so just as a point of, again, safety, if you get to the end of your crawl and you are ready to go home and that's somewhere off property where Disney is not driving you, please have a designated driver or get yourself an Uber or a Lyft to take you to those places. Safety first. Enjoy the heck out of all of these, but make sure that you're doing it in a safe way. So moving on from Disney Springs.
Well, I'll say I've been to Paradiso 37, but it was probably about 10 years ago. And why have I not been back? Well, I'm trying all these other places at Disney Springs. They keep popping up, or I'm driving, so I'm not necessarily drinking anything. I've also had Dockside Margaritas. But
oh, nice.
So I've hit at least 4 of these places for something alcoholic. It's been good. But yeah, moving on to the next one. Again, we're staying outside the parks at first. This is one of the newest transportation offerings at Walt Disney World. This is the Skyliner. This is a shorter bar crawl as far as number of venues, because you're only going to 5 places. But because I have not been on the Skyliner, I'm not sure how long it takes to ride the Skyliner from point A to point B to point C. But at the Riviera, You've got Bar Riva and the Topolino Terrace. You got two options there. Head over to Caribbean Beach. You've got Banana Cabana. And then the Skyliner also goes to Pop Century and Art of Animation. Both of these places have poolside bars. So you can just walk up to the poolside bar. At Pop Century, you got Pedals Pool Bar. And at Art of Animation, you've got the Drop-Off Pool Bar. The Drop-Off being a reference to Finding Nemo when they go to the drop-off. So you've got 5 places that you can get something to eat or drink. This is a fun one just because in between drinks or snacks, you get to go in the Skyliner and see a bird's eye view of Walt Disney World. This sounds like a blast.
I agree. I've not been on the Skyliner either. I know that the last time you and I were down in the Orlando area and visited Disney, the Skyliner had not been completed at that point. And so it's one of my to-dos to get there, as well as a few of the rides that have debuted since I've been there. And so I'm really excited about trying the Skyliner. For the Skyliner crawl and the next crawl that I will talk about, just as a point of reference here, you can visit different Disney resorts and kind of walk around and just take in the sights and sounds. You can go to the restaurants and order. You can go to these bars, just like we're talking about. If you visit a poolside bar, the only thing you're not allowed to do, even if you are purchasing something from the poolside, is you can't get in the pool. They have some pretty strict rules and regulations about staying at one resort, but then going to another resort's pool. So you can't do that, but you still can imbibe and find something to eat at the poolside places, but you just can't swim. Just wanted to mention that. So for Pop Century and Art of Animation, visit them to complete the bar crawl, but just realize that you can probably keep your swim trunks back at the resort because you won't be using them while you're there, unless you're staying at one of these places, and then swim until your heart's content.
If you are staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation, this is a really easy one to access because you're staying there, much like the monorail crawl. You're right there. Disney Springs, there are some hotels in the Disney Springs area. And then, Chris, this next one you're going to talk about, you've stayed at one of these resorts. And so if you stay at one of these 3 resorts, you can access this bar crawl very easily.
Yes, absolutely. So now we're going to go to the Boardwalk area bar crawl. And so this is going to take in the 3 resorts around the Boardwalk area, which is Boardwalk itself, the Yacht, and the Beach Club. And so I've stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club, or I guess I stayed more specifically in the Yacht Club, which had a blast at. But this is one of the things that I have realized that in years past, I would get excited about going back to this one place. Like my family and I, we love going to Beaches and Cream every time that we're staying there. Almost every time that we go to the Hoop-De-Doo Review. We love doing these few things, but because we love going back to these few areas, there are so many restaurants, so many experiences that I've yet to try. As many times as I've been down to Disney, which has probably been 20 plus, closer to 30 maybe, Disney trips that I have taken in my lifetime, and yet only done a handful of these restaurants or experiences. So as I look down the list here, I realize that I have walked by all of these places, but I've not darkened the doorway and actually walked in and ordered something at most of them. So we'll start at the Boardwalk. You've got the Atlantic Dance Hall, which I know that you and I know that you have actually visited on a number of times. You and I went there on the night that we did our Epcot crawler the night before.
Yeah.
And had a blast there. The Abracadabra, did I say that right? Abracadabra bar. Man, that's hard to say.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Wow. I had to have you say it, and then I just repeated you. I couldn't sound it out and say it myself.
You are completely sober when we record this, so
as far as you know, yeah. Absolutely. Boardwalk Joe's Marvelous Margaritas, which just sounds delightful. Oh, yeah. The Bellevue Lounge, ESPN, which I've had a few beverages at the ESPN Club, and that's always a blast. Especially one of my favorite things to do there is to, is you and I being big college football fans, is to go in the fall when the crowds start to wane just a little bit, but make it to where on a big park day, like a Saturday would be, that's when I park my booty inside the ESPN lounge and I'm watching college football as long as I can while I'm there. enjoying a few beverages. So that's a mainstay if I'm there in the fall. And then that's for the boardwalk. So you've got those 5 locations there. Then at the yacht club, you've got the Ale and Compass Lounge and Martha's Vineyard and Cruise Cup Lounge. So there's 3 choices just at the yacht club. And then at the yacht and beach club are connected. If you've never been there, they're connected. You can use the same pool area. So oftentimes, as we talk about it here, they're 2 separate places. But if you look at it, it's all kind of one combined location. But then at the beach club, you've got the Hurricane Hannah's Waterside Bar that I also have had several different beverages at that poolside bar as well. That sandy bottom beach pool that they have at the Yacht and Beach Club is just a blast. And it's so easy to grab yourself a po' boy and a nice margarita or a beer or something with rum in it. So there's a lot of options there. But again, a lot of fun there on the boardwalk area bar crawl.
Yeah, it's great. I love that area. Generally, when I'm in that area, it's a little more relaxed. You're right. I have been to the Atlantic Dance Hall a couple times. It's a fun way to kind of cap your night. Just go dance for a little bit. You can grab a couple drinks at the bar. But it's a whole lot of fun to just walk that area, especially at night when it's cooler.
Yes.
It's not a long walk. So, you can grab a drink, sip on it as you walk around. It's a great evening. So that concludes our outside the park, crawls with the monorail crawl, Disney Springs crawl, Skyliner crawl, and the boardwalk area crawl. As far as parks, the Magic Kingdom does not sell alcohol unless you're doing a sit down meal. So we're going to exclude Magic Kingdom for now. We've done Epcot, and you can go and you can check out our episodes and reviews on each country pavilion back in our earlier episodes. Some of the first episodes we did. So that leaves the Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. So let's go to the Animal Kingdom first. And I was actually surprised because I don't know that I've done any drinking in the Animal Kingdom. So as far as bar offerings, you've got Nomad Lounge, Dawa, Tamu Tamu, Wanjoey, I think is how that's pronounced, Warung, Drinkwalla, Quality Beverages, which is next to or part of Yak and Yeti. Quality Beverages, I checked out the menu, looks delicious. Got Thirsty River, Pongu Pongu, Dino Diner, and Restaurantosaurus Lounge. So this is 11 offerings. This is the same number of offerings that we have in Epcot, which is a full day. So you can get a full day just in the Animal Kingdom as well. I don't know how you're going to hit all these things because in Epcot, at least they're all right next door to each other. But a fun challenge nonetheless.
Man, I tell you, it's one of those things I know you and I were talking about before we went live here on this episode about how, at least for me, I get jealous when I hear about people that have full or that have season passes, annual passes to be able to go as much as possible, or they live down there and they can just kind of, you don't have to, if you have a season pass or you live down there, you don't have to necessarily go to the park to try to cram in as many long lines and rides as possible. You can just go to, like, today I'm going to the Animal Kingdom and I'm not even going to get on a ride. I'm just going to try to peruse around and enjoy all of the offerings there. How much fun that would be. And so I know that for many people, when they are trying to plan a vacation down to Disney World, oftentimes, especially if you have little ones in tow, it's hard to like dedicate a full day of like, I'm going to get childcare so then I can go do one of these bar crawls. But as you are walking around the Animal Kingdom, you can still peruse a bit around. You know, it doesn't have to be this big, long engagement thing where you sit down and you have to like order a full meal at each of these places. It could just be you're going to stop for 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so while the kids are taking a break. You can take a little bit of a break as well and get yourself a beverage and say that you've ticked another box on the bar crawl. So you can do it. It's just, again, these are fun options. And depending upon your experience or the time frame that you have, a lot to choose from here, because you don't even have to have a park ticket to enjoy 4 out of 6 of these that we're talking about. So anyway, yeah, just I find it interesting that there's, again, there are unlimited number of things that you can do at Walt Disney World, and many of them don't even involve going inside the parks, which is just, it's great, because that's more of a budget friendly thing. You can choose something that can last an entire day, and only the cost of the beverages or the meals that you have to pay for. You don't actually have to pay $100+ to have a park ticket to go enjoy these kinds of offerings.
Yeah.
But last on our list is Hollywood Studios Bar Crawl. Now, you do need a ticket to enjoy this or Animal Kingdom, but these are only 2 of the 6 that require that. So let's go down the list of the places that you can find a beverage in Hollywood Studios, which is Oga's Cantina. Then we have the Baseline Tap Room, the Tune In Lounge, the Brown Derby Lounge, which, man, I would love to have a nice old school cocktail at the Brown Derby Lounge.
Oh, yeah.
The Milk Stand, Oasis Canteen, and then finally the Sunshine Day Bar. So that's 7 places right there. Like that could be a pretty fun day, pretty full day, and not even get on a ride.
Well, I mean, right off the bat, right after Galaxy's Edge opened, Oga's Cantina was legendary for their drinks. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can go get all sorts of just weird stuff and weird colors, but it all looks delicious. And then the Milk Stand, most Star Wars fans know that in Galaxy's Edge inside Hollywood Studios, you can get blue milk and green milk. You can get an alcoholic version of some of this. So this sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, at Brown Derby Lounge, just an, old school style cocktail. Just a lot of different options here in Hollywood Studios. Not as long of a list, but that doesn't mean it's any less delicious. So I'm really excited about all these, also because there's some repeatability. You can kind of keep a list. What we're going to be doing in the future is trying something at every one of these places and keeping a list of what we liked, what we liked even better, and hopefully turn these into some the Mouse and Men challenges, whether it's a Hollywood Studios or Skyliner or Monorail challenge. We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, and it's one of those ideas where sometimes I have to get over in my head that I'm going to go experience all of these. Just thinking of just one of these challenges, like the monorail crawl, it's hard for me to want to go somewhere like Trader Sam's and not have a Hawaiian shirt on. But then it's hard for me to go somewhere like Crockett's Tavern and not have my cowboy boots on. So I kind of have to just look at the outside of the experience and not that I'm underdressed for it. Because I was thinking of the Brown Derby inside of Hollywood Studios, and man, I would like to have a nice suit on as I go and have a beverage there. But I have to realize I'm on vacation, and maybe it's just best that I wear one outfit. And if I have on shorts versus long pants or even cowboy boots, it's all right. It's all right. It's just fun. We're having fun.
Yeah. Can you mix a Hawaiian shirt with cowboy boots while you're wearing shorts?
I mean, I think you can. And that is, it's like giving me what's the uncle from A Christmas or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie, that's it. It's total Cousin Eddie vibes, but I think you can pull it off.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get you the hat and everything. Well,
exactly.
I'm really excited to be diving into these. Also, let us know: have you been to one of these places? Have you tried any of these crawls? We found a lot of things online. They may contain all of these stops on that particular crawl. They may not, but it all looks like a blast. So we're going to have to try this when I'm down there next, when you're down there next, we're going to have to try some of these. But before we wrap up today's episode, let's get to this week's plussing. So for plussing this week, it's a show that I hadn't really given a chance until recently. It's fairly new to Disney Plus. They're still rolling out the episodes. That's Big Shot, starring John Stamos. Really all that I've seen with John Stamos is Family Matters. No, Full House, where he moves in with his extended family to help his brother-in-law raise his 3 daughters. So Big Shot, just the premise is John Stamos plays this character who is an NCAA men's basketball coach. He'd won 12 conference titles and 3 national championships at Wisconsin, then had some anger management issues, gets fired, can't get a job in the NCAA Division I, Division II, Division III. The only job he can land is at an all-girls private high school in California. So he moves out there, and he has to just take on a totally different world. These are high school girls when he's used to working with college guys, alpha males. You get a little bit more freedom as a college head coach in practice routines. You don't have to fight with the regular school hours. So it's very fun. A lot better than I expected, but I should expect only the best from Disney. So I don't know why I was doubting it. So Big Shot, go check it out on Disney Plus. I love it. I'm about to watch everything for the second time to get my wife caught up on it. So check it out.
That's a great recommendation. It's so interesting that I have Disney Plus and I have the access to all this entertainment, but sometimes if it's something like Big Shot, I would assume that my kids would be into it before I would. And so when I see it, I'm like, oh, I'll check it out when the kids want to watch it. But just like you're saying, you're a grown man and enjoy the heck out of it. And there has not been a thing on Disney that I've watched, even something that just seems like every now and then when my kids were younger, they would not even be in the room and I would still watch full episodes of Phineas and Ferb or Gravity Falls or, these cartoons that seem like they're only for kids, but they're so engaging and so enjoyable that it doesn't matter what Disney Plus is putting out. I like it from top to bottom. So it doesn't matter if you're 12 or you're a little bit older than that. You can enjoy Disney Plus offerings regardless of your age, just because the attention to detail, the fact that they put stories first and make it engaging. It doesn't have to be, if you see mostly teenagers in a John Stamos led type TV show, it doesn't mean it's only for that age group. Go enjoy yourself one of those, even if you are a little bit older and would assume that you're not going to enjoy it as much, because I'm the same way. I've fallen in love with things that I would have assumed would have only been for kids. And I'm so glad that my kids were into it, because that means that I could jump into it also and be a fan, like Gravity Falls, Phineas and Ferb, some of the Star Wars cartoons from years past as well. So go enjoy those Disney Plus offerings. And even if the kids aren't clamoring for it, put it in, pull it up on Disney Plus. You're going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Give it an episode or two to try it out, and then make it a determination whether you want to keep going or not, including with Big Shot. That's what I did. Thought it was going to be one thing. It ended up being something completely different, and I love it.
That's awesome.
Whether you're 12 years old, like you said, or 21, there's something for you with the Disney company. And it's just a reminder that you don't want to grow up too fast.
But you gotta keep exploring.